The presenting sponsor of this episode of Banana Island Living podcast is Banana Island School. Banana Island School is a school with happy kids and very high expectations. So why don't you check them out? Go to mail@bananaislandschool.com, go to the website www.bananaislandschool.com, or just check them out on Instagram @bananaislandsch. That's Banana Island SCH. Hello and welcome to another edition of Banana Island Living podcast.
Hello.
Hi, I've been trying to get Yewande on this thing for so long. Somehow it just didn't happen. Anyway, I'm going to get Yewande to introduce herself. Hi, Yewande.
Hello. My name is Yewande. My second name is Osareme, and my last name is Odia, Odia.
Usually I'll do a backstory. I tell you a little bit about them, but Yewande is an accomplished speaker. So I didn't think I should teach my grandmother to suck eggs. So Yewande, you tell me your backstory. Tell me a potted CV. And then if you're being too modest, then I'll add a little bit.
Well, I lead the country office of the United Nations Population Fund, the country office in Tchad. So I'm known as the resident representative of UNFPA in Tchad. And that means that I support the government of Tchad in promoting population policies. So it's a UN agency, and we deal with populations policies that promote enhanced economic growth, that enhance the demographic dividend. And the demographic dividend means that you basically ensure that at every stage your population is contributing in a way that's productive. In other words, they are ensuring that you are contributing to economic growth.
But I mean, look, Yewande, you're being very modest and talking about it. You have lived as a diplomat for how many years now? I mean, going to some of the toughest spots. You've been in Haiti, Somalia, Congo. How many years have you been doing this?
Yes, I've been to a number of different countries. I've spent 29 years in the UN system.
Gosh.
And the UN system means the United Nations Secretariat, which is headquartered in New York. And that's where you have the Security Council, the General Assembly, and the Secretariat of the United Nations. Then I've also worked with UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Programme, and also I'm currently working for the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. So I've worked in the UN system for nearly 30 years, and that has meant, moving to a number of different countries. So it's been quite an interesting experience. Yeah.
Well, I would say you've been in some really interesting places. I mean, the last time before you moved to Chad, we spoke and you said, I'm getting ready to move out of Goma. I thought, what are you doing in Goma? How do you as a woman, how do you navigate these spaces in these not necessarily very enabling environments? How do you survive? How do you thrive in these areas?
I'm not sure you can say one necessarily thrives, but at least one survives.
So how do you do it? What do you find in yourself to? How do you do it?
Well, for me, it's kind of become normal.
Yeah.
Of course, at several points, you think, "Oh God, I can't take this any longer." The good thing is, if you're in a crisis country or in a crisis environment, as I've been quite frequently,
yes,
you actually just focus on the mandate. You try and do that, and think about either the lives you're changing or the difference you're making on the ground. But sometimes it's not about that. It's just you get to the point where you're like, oh, no, I don't need this. But
Yeah.
for the most part, you get used to it and you manage it quite well. You know, human beings are adaptable, and the human spirit can adapt and change and evolve, and you adjust and you get used to certain things. And if it's a really protracted crisis, very often you get the opportunity to go out of the country quite often.
Yeah.
So that
And
helps.
then come back.
And then come back. Yeah.
Yeah. But Yewande, what I like about you, I mean, like I said, we've been friends forever, but you have the gift of friendship, and everywhere you've been, you always end up having one or two or even more friends. So I presume that's one of the things that, has been the upside of this traveling around the world. Or what do you think?
Yeah, and I think when I was younger, I had
Mm.
some friends, and you need friends because you're in
Oh,
places where
yeah.
you don't know anybody. You arrive and you
Yeah.
kind of have to make friends all over again, every time.
Gosh, yes.
And that gets harder the older you get, you know.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I
Because
mean,
I've always known you as somebody that if I put you in a little place now, you will find friends. Because that's you
yes,
know that's how I know
of
you.
course, one does still find friends, but not as many.
As when you were younger, yeah.
I compare the first 5 years or 10 years to the
Yeah.
last 5 years or
5 years.
so.
Yeah.
It's quite different. But again, it could also be a question of the environment I was in.
Yeah.
They were different environments, and it depends on what the things you have that you do. So, for instance,
Mm.
when I was living in New York, there was a lot to do. So there was a life.
Yeah.
You had a
Yeah.
life. You could go out. You could do things, whether it was sports related things, theatre related
Or the
things,
theater, yes.
music related. So you had a life, and you had people who might
Yeah.
share
Or,
those
or how
passions.
did you do Somalia, for instance? Because you were in Somalia too.
Yeah, Somalia was very interesting because, well, first of all, obviously I was much younger,
Yeah.
but you couldn't go out because it was very dangerous. It was actual conflict. It was an active war, so we couldn't go out. And if you did go out, you went with tanks and a flak jacket and
You're joking.
with radios in case you got bombed or shot at. So
Good Lord.
we generally stayed in this U.S. embassy compound where we worked and lived,
Lived.
and we would have parties all the time. It was such fun. So, because there was nothing else to do. You couldn't go out. You couldn't.
Yeah.
We had a roaring time. Um,
You're joking. In the midst
yeah,
of all that chaos.
yeah. And the funny thing is, I was young. That was the beginning of my UN
Yeah.
career, and we would hang out with the bosses. Because of course the bosses couldn't go
Oh,
anywhere
right.
either. So
So you were all stuck together.
yes, we were all stuck together, and we would have lots of different parties, and you know, you weren't driving home, so you could stay up late, and so it
You
was
could drink.
roaring. It was great. It was lots and lots of
Yeah.
fun, but it was also a time when I think you made really good friends because you
Yeah.
needed each other.
Intense relationships. Yes.
We people got killed, people got
Oh my goodness.
shot at. So you developed close relationships because we lived on top of each other.
Yeah.
You became friends, and you helped each other. But you looked forward to when you could get out and go on R&R, rest and recreation.
Yeah.
But yes, it was fun. But in later years, I think it hasn't been quite the same. For instance, in Goma, where it was dangerous, and at some point we were limited to our quarters. It was difficult
Yeah.
there because we kind of lived in a more spread out environment.
Right. So it wasn't quite such fun.
Yeah, it wasn't. It really wasn't. Even though I have to say my earlier time in Kinshasa, which is the
Yeah.
capital of DRC,
Of DRC,
was
yeah.
a lot of fun because
All right.
Kinshasa is very much like Lagos. It's a teeming,
Yeah.
energetic, funky city.
And the music.
Yeah,
You
and they
know?
have
The music, the
fantastic music.
fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic
Oh,
music,
right.
and lots of nightlife. So very, very vibrant
Uh-huh.
city.
Yeah. But you and it, from as long as I've known you, you've always wanted to be in the diplomatic service. And your journey has been amazing. So tell me, how did you get into it? Because, I mean, from the little I've heard from you, because we haven't really talked about it properly, you've been incredibly tenacious. You were focused. So tell me, how did you go about? How did you get in? Because it wasn't quite so easy. We started out doing French, didn't we? Modern European languages.
Yes, we did. And I'm actually not in the diplomatic service. I'm in the United Nations, which is not necessarily the diplomatic service.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is actually, the United Nations is actually an intergovernmental organization.
Right.
And you have diplomatic status, but you're not an actual diplomat.
And the passport. Thank you. Yes.
Well, you have diplomatic privileges, but
Right.
you are not a diplomat. To be a
Gotcha.
diplomat, you actually have to be representing a government.
Yeah.
So if I were working for the Nigerian Foreign Service, then
Yeah.
I would
Gotcha.
be a diplomat. But
Okay.
I'm an international civil servant. That's
Gotcha.
what I'm designated as. And as an international civil servant, you have diplomatic privileges.
Right. So how did you get into this?
Well, I started off studying languages and sort of torn between going into theatre arts and
I remember.
and languages at some point.
Yes. Thank you, Wale Shoika.
So I think I, at the very beginning, perhaps did a little bit of theatre at some point, you and I.
And the band. Don't
And the
forget our
band.
band. And the band.
So wanted to do the arts, but, also liked languages. And I could speak French already anyway. So I thought, well, it's the easiest thing for me to do. So let me just do that.
And
And
then you did law.
and then I finished that. And of course, you know how Nigerian parents are. My parents were actually quite cool. They didn't mind.
Your parents were cool, if I remember
Yeah.
rightly.
But it was, sort of uncles and aunts who came and said, what are you doing? Go and study law. So a few uncles and aunts suggested other things. And I, graduated and thought, oh, well, I might not be able to do much with theatre.
Earn a living from the dancing and the theatre.
Yeah, I kind of wanted theatre, We were not born in the days of Nollywood, so,
No, not quite. It's not too late now.
So anyway, I then went to study law, which I thought was not bad because it was real life drama anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought
But that was at Kent. That was at Kent, yeah.
Yes, University of Kent.
Yeah.
And of course I liked the law. I actually enjoyed it thoroughly. And
yeah, you practiced as well, litigation in Nigeria.
Yeah, and then went to do a master's. And then started working with the UN from there. So
how did you get into the UN system?
Okay, well, how did I get in?
Yeah.
It was quite difficult.
Well, I was going to say, it can't be that easy.
Well,
did you know anybody? Did you
at the
apply
time,
and you just got picked up, or internship, or what?
No, at the time, my father had worked in the UN system many years ago,
right?
And had very few, sort of one or two people he still knew, but I couldn't seem to get hold of anyone.
Yeah.
So, I just couldn't find anyone. But finally, after several attempts, I was able to get in, and and I started in 1994 as a legal officer. And of course, in those days, you just gave your CV to someone and hoped that it would get there,
yeah. So Did you have to do an internship, or were you just
No.
going there and being very persistent?
Yeah, I would go and stand in front of the UN building and hope that,
No.
yeah, seriously, this was active. I tell all young
Yewande,
people
I'm
today.
so impressed by you. You actually went there and just stood there.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one person I knew there was Kofi
Yeah.
Annan, and at the time he was
Right.
a friend of my parents, and so I knew he was in that building, but I could never get in. So I made a few friends, and whenever I could, I'd go and then hope to see him in the corridor. And
Oh,
so one day he did come and walk down the
gosh.
corridor. So I ran to him and I took my CV everywhere I went. So there he was. And so I pulled out my CV and I said, I've been trying to find you, get hold of you. And he said, really? Oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that was the, soon after that I started. But anyway, actually staying in the system has also been equally as hard. I mean, it really hasn't been very easy. But nowadays, everything's done online. It's not the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
Everything you apply online, and that's a lot more anonymous. So
yeah, it's probably more equitable, but at the same time, so many people just don't do well just online. You know, you have to meet the personalities, and it's got its good points and its tough points, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me, you've been doing this for nearly 30 years. Any regrets? Any highs? Tell me, first of all, what are the high points? What have been the high points? One or two key things that
I
have been
think
the
the
high
high points were probably when I started new things. So, for instance, starting a new section or office when I was in New York in our Department of Peacekeeping. That was a real high because I got a lot of experience setting up an operation
from scratch.
And that was really, really good. And working with a number of our assistant secretary generals and under secretary generals in New York at the time. So that was fun. That was a real high professionally. Lows, of course, have one or two, especially if you're feeling that you're not making the impact that you want to have
that
in
you
a
went in there
area.
for. Yeah.
So that can be a low, but otherwise, it's been fine.
Yeah. What is it that you would have done differently, knowing now what if you'd known then what you know now? What was the one thing you would have wanted to do differently?
I would have liked to work for the government, for the Nigerian government. I would have liked
rather than or in addition to.
No, I would have
the
liked
UN.
to have started off in the foreign service of the Nigerian Foreign Service.
Right, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because
but it's not too late.
As I said earlier,
Yeah.
the United Nations is an intergovernmental body.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
as the secretariat, the civil servants work there as the secretariat, and we serve all of these member states.
Yeah.
But they all have competing interests, and so it can be quite difficult.
Yes.
But actually understanding how a particular government works, or how governments work from within the government, it's not a bad thing. So I wish I had the opportunity.
You'd done that first.
A government within my government.
Yeah. But hey, it's not too late if they're listening. there's a really experienced diplomat with amazing people skills, ready to jump in there and rescue the Nigerian government. But yeah, so what next for you, Yewande? What would you like to do? I mean, we'll probably get to this later on in the bucket list thing. What next professionally? And then we'll talk about personally later.
Well, I'd love to say it, but I really shouldn't, because my little secret.
Just between you and me.
What I want to be or do.
Yes.
I have a couple of things that I'm terribly interested in doing next.
Yes.
One of the things I can talk about is sort of rekindle my interest in the arts. I'm very, very, yeah, I
Yes.
sort of
So
regret
Nollywood
not
is not
having.
too late. So Nollywood is not too late.
Yeah, so I've been thinking of that, but also, of course, do other things in terms of serving the government. If an opportunity would arise, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Okay. From your mouth to the ears of God.
Amen.
It will happen. Yes. So now this is the bit that I really like. Okay. What's the next thing? One thing on your bucket list. This is partly what we've talked about. Is that the theatre thing?
Well, I think for my bucket list, it's more sort of what I want to do, what I see myself, not as a professional, but sort of as a fun thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd love to go to Bhutan, visit Bhutan.
Oh, yes.
I'm terribly interested in just discovering more of the world. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just so many places I haven't been to.
Have you done the Korea thing? You wanted
No,
to
I
do
haven't done
Korea.
that. So I'm still,
Okay.
looking forward to doing Asia.
To doing that. Yes,
Mm.
Asia. Okay. Sunday morning church or chill? I know it's church because you've tried to get me out of bed a few times.
Yeah, it's church and sometimes
Yeah.
chill because in a
Right.
lot of places I can't go to a church. So,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
so it's church and chill, depending on
Okay.
where I am. But
Yeah.
most likely, if I can, then it's church.
It's church as a preference. Okay. And who do you admire most?
Dead or living?
Let's start with the living.
Living. Well, a number of people, but I think someone that I admire
Mm.
is Angela Merkel.
Right. I mean, why? Why?
She is quite an amazing lady,
Mm.
intellectually,
Mm.
and also because she was so smart, she was very
And
successful,
so
not
humble.
just.
And
But
so
that's
humble.
it. So it's her simplicity. So she was a very successful
Simplicity. Yeah.
politician, but we all
Yeah.
know politicians to be pompous and full of
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
But she
I
was
think you
quite
got
the
the right
opposite.
word,
She was
simplicity. Being
simple.
effective but simple.
Her impact is still felt, I think, in Germany. She
Yeah.
she wasn't just simple, but she was authentic. She was real.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to be anything. She was just
And she
herself.
had convictions. She had the
And
courage of her
she was
convictions.
also, from what I understand, she fought for her country.
Mm.
Sometimes I don't think that politicians in Nigeria fight for Nigeria.
No.
I don't see them fight for Nigeria in ways that.
Oh, it's not just Nigeria. It's quite a few of the other places too in the
But
West.
obviously, being that I'm Nigerian, I think
Yeah.
that's why I say Nigeria. Because I sometimes feel that it's important to fight for our countries, but
Yeah,
to fight for
absolutely.
them in the right way, not to.
Yeah.
She was also, she ensured economic growth in her country, stability, so I thought she was very good. But what was key for me was her simplicity. She was an
Yeah.
intellectual powerhouse. She was a scientist. She was a physicist.
Mm.
And then she started off in politics in a rather, lowly way. I mean, she wasn't, she just went into politics. And of course, she was given the things that women are given, Ministry of Women and
Yeah.
Minister of
Social affairs
Babies or something.
kind of thing.
So she got those to start with, but came out as a powerhouse. So that's one person, someone living that I admire.
Yeah.
Dead person, I admired my mother for her intellectual capacity as well, and her
Oh,
simplicity.
yeah.
She was always very simple. She was someone who just never liked to be the center of attention of anything.
Yes.
And I feel Angela Merkel is like that too. I'm drawn to that. I don't know whether it's because I saw it before in my life, but I like the fact that my mother was very smart, but never sort of put herself out there
Showing off.
Yes.
I mean, she was such an amazingly quiet, effective, but also incredibly wise. We always felt such. I don't know. Your mum was like not necessarily a mother to all of us because she was your mom and she was very welcoming, but also it's just that she was listening. You felt she was listening to you and she would give you advice, but not in a way of this is a big older person giving you advice. before you know it, you'll be talking to Yewande's mom. I'm telling her your issues, and she'll quietly dropping one or two things, which was incredibly effective. And I mean, she was really, really. No, I miss her. She was amazing. So yeah, your mom was amazing, and you were a great daughter, believe me. So, if you could live anywhere in the world, and you've been in so many places, what is the one place you would want to live apart from Lagos? The
Well,
only one.
there are lots of places I haven't seen yet, so this is probably going
Yeah,
to change once I've
yeah,
seen more places. But so far, there are a number of places I don't mind living,
yeah.
but one of them would be Geneva, where I grew up, and
Right.
then another
Yeah.
place would be Cape Town.
Uh-huh.
I really love Cape Town in terms of what's available there, the scenery, the landscape. It's gorgeous. Yeah, but I'm sure I can add to that
When you
list.
get to Bhutan, you might change your mind.
Right, exactly. Bhutan
Or
is
Korea,
actually
your
quite,
spiritual home.
yeah, but Bhutan is quite a phenomenal place. Apparently,
Yeah, they're the ones that do the instead of GDP, they do the happiness index.
exactly. They've got the happiness
Yeah,
index, the very happy
yeah,
people, and you can't. I
yeah,
think most of the land is has to have green, and you can't. It's
yeah.
incredible. They're incredible people. But
I'd love to go. So pack me in your suitcase. So what are you reading at the moment?
I am reading Barack Obama's book,
Which one?
Promised Land,
Okay.
and I'm about to sort of start something else without finishing that, which I never do.
Why you don't want to? Okay? It's not that the book itself is boring. It's just that
Well, maybe I
you
just
have so
got to
much
a
on the go.
bit where I kind of thought it was dragging on.
Okay.
So I kind of want to read something else and then go back
Yeah.
to it. I don't know. Yeah, so that's that.
Okay. And what's your current favorite song?
How does it feel? That's by D'Angelo. How does it feel?
Yeah.
Another one.
D'Angelo is rather old school in a
Yeah, these are
R&B kind of
old
thing, isn't
songs,
it?
but I'm just discovering them.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
another one that I just discovered is Lost Without You by Robin Thicke, and I love it.
Oh, right.
Lost
I've never
without
really
you.
been a Robin Thicke person, apart from that one he did with Pharrell.
Lost without
Uh-huh.
you.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
still hope for that band. We might just be such a So are you watching anything on Netflix?
Oh.
I'm sure you're going to say Korean drama, but
Need I say more?
is it Korean drama?
Need
Is it
I say
Korean
more?
drama?
Next.
So which particular Korean drama are you watching?
This one's not good at all. I just started it and I thought, oh no, this is not good. I think I've seen the.
You're not feeling it.
Not feeling it. I kind of
And
feel
that's a very, very low threshold because I
yeah,
know you love Korean dramas. For you
yeah,
not to actually enjoy one must be
I think
awful. So, but what is your favorite Korean drama?
her private life. That's what it's called.
Okay, her private life. Okay. So describe yourself in 3 words.
Adventurous,
Okay.
authentic,
Mm-hmm.
persistent.
I can testify to that. So you're adventurous, you're authentic, and you're persistent. I think yeah. As a third party looking in, yes, I think I'd agree with that. Now, this is a bit that I hope you've done some prep. Your joke, you have a high threshold to cross. Your joke has to be funny. So you're going to have to tell me a joke.
I am such. I am
A really funny one.
a not funny person. Not funny person.
Yeah. Well, you had time to check online. You could have come up with it. So yes, you're not going to get out of
Oh
this.
my goodness. Okay. So that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Nick one of Trevor Noah's or something. Or what's your favorite comedian?
Trevor Noah.
Is it?
Trevor
Or is it
Noah.
just because I mentioned?
Literally. Yeah, Trevor Noah.
So
I love him.
Trevor Noah. Why? Why Trevor?
Oh, he's real. He is. He's an African, first of all. He's real, authentic. If one were to use another word.
Yeah, I think also his jokes are thinking jokes, if you see what I mean. I wouldn't say he's intellectual, but he's clearly educated. and somebody who puts some thought.
Mm.
And when he explains things, you say, "Oh, how come I didn't think of that before?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think he's funny, ha ha ha, belly full, but he can lead you to where he wants you to be by being amusing. And I think he's.
And before Trevor Noah, my favorite
Yeah.
comedian was Chris Rock. I really liked the fact that
Right.
he tended to raise social issues, and I thought that was good. He made
Issues.
them sound really funny. So I really did like Chris Rock. He seems to have
Falling off a bit.
fallen off the cliff, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like his old
Okay.
show. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So have you managed to check online to find a joke that you're going to plagiarize?
Oh, you mean now?
No, don't worry. I'll let you off. I'll let you off.
Okay, I got one. So,
Oh, great. Okay, tell me.
so
Yes.
it's hard to explain puns to kleptomaniacs.
Okay.
They always take things literally.
Oh gosh.
I'll
That
say
is
it again.
such a limp. So was that Google Assist? Was that Google Assistant?
Never mind.
We passed swiftly on. Thank you so much, Yewande. You've been such a good host. So if people want to reach you, how do they do so?
I am on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is the place. And you're open? Do you answer your messages?
No, not very often. Well, if I know people,
Okay.
yes, but if I don't,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So they can try you on LinkedIn. Yeah. So thank you so much. And next stop is where? Where are you spending Christmas?
Ooh, I'll tell you later.
The mind boggles, the imagination wanders. Thank you.
Thank you.